subtitle for the Amara.org community.
Hello dear sewing enthusiast, welcome to my video on how to sew a zipper into trousers. I will show you how to top stitch this nose, how to complete the upper seam, how to sew in a lower seam, how to accomplish all this off the cuff. And that too. I understand it's nicely covered. Yes? Then I hope you enjoy watching, and now let's get started. I have just sewn this small piece of the crotch seam here, from the start of the zipper to the finish of the cut, so to speak. During the examination, I marked the front center. And here's the tube. Turn the facing inward 1 centimeter before the center front. On the other side. The right side. I iron directly on the center front. The break. That's all for now. What we can accomplish. Here, I can neatly stretch out the seam allowance first. And then the inseam. You should also be able to iron it out properly. You just have to be a bit patient. I now slide the zipper beneath this edge. A portion of the ribbon may protrude slightly at the top here. It is somewhat lengthy. And then the tiny teeth. I must go there immediately, as close as possible. Then stitch along. I utilize the zipper foot for this, so that it can be brought near to the railing. The circular key is already inserted into the vacuum. Let's meet. Because I don't have to stitch on the other side now. I'm just going to conceal a few needles here, from center to center. Now I can turn the whole thing around. And now you can see the zipper here, which I have to address. Sew on this ribbon now. For now, I'm simply preparing the trimmings, not stitching them yet. The circular fastener is attached. Of course, you can continue to use your zipper foot to sew close to the prongs. If you don't have one, as demonstrated, I've now employed the alternative foot and shifted the needle entirely to the left. You likely have this feature on your sewing machine as well. This method is also effective. This is what it looks like from the underside. I am now able to top stitch the decorative batting as well as the facing. The stitching should be 3 centimeters wide. Is the size of the hand acceptable? Ensure that you can always check. After sewing 3 centimeters, you should be quite proficient. Perhaps you have a slot like this on your device, in which case it should function quite effectively. The event ran a bit longer than expected. If you're tailoring jeans, you can replicate the same steps, and additionally, you can incorporate a second quilting panel. This imparts a really appealing look and also adds a touch of sportiness. We still need to attach the underlap. I've prepared half of the strip, ironed over. I folded one long edge twice and the cross seam at the bottom. We don't need the top because it will be incorporated into the cuff later. This is how we are currently modifying the lower step. Again, under the zipper. This is how the bean is cut. The underlap of my cuff is 3.5 centimeters wide plus 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now I just tap dance as far as possible, as far as one can go down here. Thus, the underlap has been reinforced. I've positioned the seam adjacent to it, 1/2 inch away, and now I can also remove the basting thread, which is no longer necessary. And what do we do now? Does the following substep hang here so loosely? That's what I enjoy doing. I'm still here. A tiny latch to ensure its solidity. If you aren't fond of its horizontal placement at the bottom, you could also stitch it along this curve. However, it's not of significant importance. Alternatively, you can securely stitch the underlap on the inside with a few hand stitches, ensuring it is not visible from the outside. And then, our pants zipper is already completed. I am now going to stitch the side seams of the trousers, followed by attaching the waistband for you to visualize how it appears at the top. My cuff is a straight band, and I attach it to the top of the edge here. A 1 centimeter seam allowance must stick out here. We'll have to discuss that later. And I now pin the entire waistband with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. To the edge of the trousers, I pressed the waistband once at the fold and completed the inner edge. The cuffs are now stitched on. These zipper ends here, certainly I can trim them now, and then I need to inspect it and put it on. It should be like this now. A suitable fit. Indeed, there should be a smooth transition here. I'm going to fold it back like this. Exactly on the dotted line. We are now stitching this edge here. And on this side, I do exactly the same, wrapping it towards the inside. And here we also left our 1 centimeter seam allowance overhanging, which I can now remove. Now it is turned around. I'm going to slide under here with my thumb. Bend the seam like this, and press everything outward with your index finger, and then we already have a hole. Wonderful. Even the edge. The trimming here is already quite nice, but I don't desire it in this manner currently. Stay calm. There are slopes. That's why I hit the first part. Inwards. And then you can let it play out like this. The other side. It's actually exactly the same. Fold inward, turn outward. Fold the seam inwards. Turn it inward in the same manner. Ironing soon. Now, of course, I have to take a look at it. That is also true. Yes, it looks good that way. I'll press that now, and afterward, I'll demonstrate again how to stitch the cuff on the inside. So, the cuff is now pressed. Press the seam allowance inward here, and now I'm on the outside. Well then, so across the seam, you can accomplish this in two ways. First, as I am demonstrating here in the seam shadow, ensuring that no seam is visible at all on more refined trousers. If you're dealing with sporty trousers or jeans, I would suggest top stitching the cuff completely around, or using 2 top stitching seams. Ultimately, you'll need to decide what works best for your situation, also according to taste. What type of pants do you sew? This is what I've surrounded myself with. And then I will sew this into the shadow seam once. So, we've completed our pants zipper. Naturally, you still need to create a buttonhole and attach a button to your trousers. Alternatively, you could create a hook on the trousers. It's up to you to decide if you want it to be visible or not. Here's a helpful hint though. I accomplished this using Velcro on the pants. I hope you have a great time with your upcoming trouser projects, incorporating a professionally sewn-in zipper. Perhaps you might be interested in viewing some of my other videos, always filled with plenty of useful tips and tricks.